Okay, so unfortunately, I cannot wait until I finish Avengers World and the last two volumes of Gasolina before I do the last. I was gonna, I usually like to finish the last of the books and then do the final uh, comic reviews for that stack of books. I have to do these in at least 2 to 3 parts because of the fact that the library that I go to pick up books is right across from where I work. So it's much more convenient for me to go. And sometimes you have seen how big these stacks can get. Sure, I'll have like a stack of 20 books to return, and that does make the backpack pretty heavy, but that's like borderline. I can't do much more than that, and I'm checking out like 30 books at a time. And just kind of like that's the way it goes, and it's not a big deal because again I can get 15 to 20 books I can do in that all. So you'll at least get that like big stack of books, comic reviews, and you'll get like smaller ones like these that it seem kind of pathetic, but hey, it's a shorter video for those of you who like shorter videos. I know most of you, and I do myself, like the longer videos, but sometimes a shorter video when I've just been making hour-long videos is kind of nice. I would say myself. Um, I'm sure some of you guys, like, it's like a podcast. You treat this as a podcast. You put it in the background when you're, like, doing chores or whatever, or working, or what have you, doing yard work, which I think is fine. The only times I'm like, well, maybe you should be watching the videos when I show the artwork. That's about it. And for these videos, honestly, these videos can be completely podcast oriented. They never show the artwork for these books. The only time I show the artwork is for comic hauls. For comics I buy myself. And the reason for why that is that's always the way I've done it. I think it's because I'm going over like 30 books, 30 plus books, 30 plus comics. So that's a lot of comics to go over. When I do the books I'll be reading for the next few weeks. So if I say to myself, well, if I'm showing these off there and just reviewing the books I've already shown off and I show the artwork off there on those videos, well, that kind of can't be done because I take at least 2 minutes talking about each book. So 30 books, that's an hour-long video. I would say on average like 1.5 minutes because some of them I'll be like, oh, like Preacher. Like, there's not much I can say about Preacher that I haven't said already when I'm going over it. Reviewing it, that's different, but when I'm going over it, saying, hey, I'm reading Preacher for the 70th time. Here's Volume 5. There's not much I can say other than it's my favorite comic of all time, and then moving on. And then, of course, who the author is. But that's it. No, but let's get into it, because that was a long-ass intro. First one up is Genius, Volume 2, Cartel, written by Mark Bernardin, and Adam Freeman. I did not mention that. I forgot that this was co-authored. And honestly, I really feel like it's Adam Freeman who wrote this, and not Mark Bernardin, because Mark Bernardin wrote, like everything else that I've read by him, very few things I've read by him, has been much, much better than this has. This really reads as a first draft. They wanted to get this out for a certain time, and maybe a certain date, a certain deadline, and a deadline was approaching, and they're like, alright, this is our first draft, let's just publish it as is. It's our creator-owned work, so we can do that without, again, it's our creator-owned work. If we want to do it, we can do it. It's literally what creator-owned work is. You do what you want to do. And that's how this book reads. This book reads as a first draft. There's a lot of pacing issues here and there. The dialogue scene, there's a lot of dialogue in this book for something that's supposed to be action-packed. It still is action-packed. I do like the action in this, but did not need to be this dialogue heavy. I think you just take out, there's a lot of kind of like monologue-y kind of moments in here. I will show the artwork because I want to show this. Every single issue you get like this little previously on thing, and that really hurts the pacing as is, but a lot of the dialogue is that, just like that kind of almost like droning on kind of exposition dump kind of thing, but just like you could definitely take out some of that dialogue. Now I am not a like a seasoned writer who knows how to, like, what exactly to take out and what to not take out, nor am I an editor, but I will say that there are certain parts of certain dialogues that you can, like, kind of shorten, you know. You still need dialogue in your comics, obviously, but the artwork should show more than anything else. I honestly think that previously on, I don't know how to do that. Maybe take that out, because especially with this trade, all someone has to do if they forget something is read the previous issue. And honestly, like, I can't imagine. I know everyone's first comic is every comic is someone's first comic, but going into Genius Cartel issue 4 of volume 2 of the Genius series, I can't imagine someone doing that. And honestly, it's on them for doing that. But yes, Genius Cartel. And honestly, you can, there are ways that you can say this is what happened previously and make it sound organic and not just have it be a bunch of narration balloons. Narration boxes. But other than that, this book is pretty good. I like the characters, I like the action, I think the story is very interesting, and this kind of ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. Why is it every time I fucking film, my goddamn dog wants to bark? Because someone's here, I think. Alright, let's see. But anyways, as I was saying, the action is really nice, it's really frenetic, you know, but it is, like, the artwork I kind of like, and as I was saying, so it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. And is there anybody even here? Not anyone that wasn't already here, so I don't know why she's back. Alright. I can check the ring. I can just do that's kind of nice about having a ring, is that you can just check, because it's my front yard where everyone parks, so you can see if anybody's parked, and see if the Amazon truck is coming up, USPS. Well, USPS has a very distinct, like, you know it's them because of the truck. But anyways, getting back on track. The upsides. So it does end on a bit of a cliffhanger, but it's kind of like, well, it's not a cliffhanger, it's more just like the story will continue kind of thing, but this is where it ends, you know, it's kind of one of those things. Like, if he wanted to make a volume 3, he could, but it's not necessary. Without giving too much away, it is one of those kind of one of those endings, sort of ambiguous, that's a word. I would like to see volume 3, and it's been long enough to where I think that Mark Bernardin can make volume 3 the best out of the series. He can have, like, him and Adam Freeman can get together and really work hard on this, and not just publish the first draft of the book, and actually, like, you know, if they actually fix the problems they have with the first two volumes, and they can make volume 3 the perfect ending to the series. So as is, a 6 out of 10, like the first volume. Mockingbird Volume 2. So I went into this, because I've read this several times, and I've always kind of liked this because of the writing, but the politics and, like, her, like, the whole, like, this stuff does get in the way. And obviously this is a Chelsea Cain book, and if you know Chelsea Cain, you know how she likes to write her comics, and this is exactly, this is a Chelsea Cain book through and through. But I think her writing is good. I think if she just, like, focused on the story more than anything, then it would be, she would be considered to be a good writer. I still like this book, but it was one of those things where, like, I was kind of getting annoyed. Like, it was like, okay, it's like a drinking game for every time this comes up, every time the male gets sidelined and the male gets treated less so because, oh, it's a male, it's a straight white male, kind of that thing. And that is actually, I'm not trying to be one of those YouTubers, that is actually what's in this book. But it's not all the time. It's just like a few times here and there, and honestly, like with Man-Eaters, it's kind of, again, it's just so bad it's good, like, this got published. And Man-Eaters, I remember being not a lot worse, but a lot more, like, obvious. But it was still good. I still like Man-Eaters. And I think Man-Eaters is actually better than this is. And that's also from Image, so if I do, because I'm trying to read it, that's why you saw Genius, you know, why you saw me review Gasolina, the last time, and the first volume of Genius. I'm trying to read two Image Comics series per month. One being a reread, and one being one I haven't read, I haven't read before. Genius I had read before, so Genius I always considered to be, and this is what I said, like, I said before, but I did forget to mention that, but with Genius, it was basically like, when you have cheats enabled in, like, Saints Row 2, or I say Saints Row 2 because it's a gangbanger, and that's what it is in Saints Row 2, gangbanger kind of thing. But it's basically like having the cheats in, and you're just, like, warring against the cops. That was the first Genius, and it's basically what it was. It's like them against the cops, and they're, like, ultra powerful, but there obviously are conflicts. Like, there are things that they didn't factor in, like that, and that's where the conflicts will ensue. But then the second one's like cartels. But So yeah, the Genius was the reread, and Gasolina will be the one that I'm reading for the first time. But I try and do that every month because I want to have at least 24 books to talk about at the end of the year. More because I'm adding a few in, because you saw Everyday Hero Machine Boy as an OGN, and I'll be reading one more OGN before the end of this month. I'm thinking maybe Beowulf, or yeah, probably Beowulf. I'll do that. So now going back to getting back on track. Batgirl Volume 5, Deadline, the final volume in Gail Simone's run. Now, this I thought didn't have a definitive ending. It kind of does. It's a few loose ends that they didn't tie up. They never really said what happened. There's a certain new character, and they never really said what happened to that new character after, like, the whole conflict of what happened. Like, it's not too open-ended, but it's like, well, these characters were still in a relationship, what's happening to that? And I know for a fact that Batgirl Burnside, the awful Brendan Fletcher run, that I have to put up with reading because I want to get to the Rebirth run and kind of have to read that beforehand. I know for a fact that it's not going to say what happens. Maybe a throwaway line, and they'll bastardize the character. But anyways, this run is really damn good. There's a reason for why I hate the Batgirl of Burnside so much, and that's because Batgirl of Burnside is the exact opposite of this. This is everything you'd want in a Batgirl book. It's dark, but it's also, some lighthearted moments here and there. It's not like grim dark, but it's really damn dark. A lot of like, it's extremely investing. The pacing is top notch. It is like a complete 9 out of 10 run for Batgirl. And I think the reason why I actually do not only consider myself to be knowledgeable about Batgirl, but want to read more Batgirl is because of this run. Because I have to think about it. Because I read Batgirl Year 1, that was also really good. I read this, and I'm talking Barbara Gordon Batgirl, not the other Batgirls. I did read the Silent Girl Batgirl, and I know it's not Stephanie Brown, but whoever the silent one is, that's in the Batgirls run from Becky Cloonan. Which I started reading that, and that first volume was really damn good. But of course, the library did not have the next few volumes. So I did get it on the Kindle. They were having a sale a long time ago, and I was able to get all 4 volumes. Or 3? 4. I think it's 4. Pretty sure it's 4. Black Widow, Widowmaker. This one has a bunch of different stories in here. It's a complete collection. The best one out of this bunch, I would say, was a Marjorie Leo run. Everything else was good, but overall, a 7 out of 10 for this book. Kind of forgettable. Will I read this again later down the line? Probably will. So I would consider this to be a every 6 month roll kind of book, but definitely every 6, like closer to 6 months than 3 months. Because 6 months is average. Like on average, every 6 months I reread comics. Scott Snyder's The Wake. This one was... I lost my train of thought because I was like, what were the authors? Or... Yep, they have. Nice. It's not a big deal because I went over these books when I was going over them. Super set over there. When I went over these books, I did say, oh, this is the author for this book. So if you saw that video, you would, you knew the books that I'd be reading them and I'll be later reviewing. And so it's like, oh, I did it there. I don't need to do it again. Actually, I don't think I did it for the big 20-book stack of books, so it doesn't really matter. But here I was like, you know what? Why not do it? Because I did it with the first book, and it's like, why not? But anyways, Scott Snyder's The Wake. This one I've always considered to be extremely underrated, and I still stand by that reason. This is getting a reprint soon. Definitely pre-order it. This is super. It's not like groundbreaking or anything like that. I will give it an 8 out of 10, and it is an 8 out of 10. Nothing above, but nothing below. It's underrated in the sense that it needs to be read, but don't expect the next magnum opus. It still has its flaws here and there, but not many flaws. It's still very investing, and it's one of those books that has a lot of dialogue, has a lot of exposition, but does not hurt it as much as it did with Genius. This is what I want. This is what I think, if Genius had a second draft, what the pacing would be more akin to this than to what we have for Genius. Yeah, 8 out of 10 for The Wake. And finally, Preacher Book 4. I'm going to do just a quick It's a 10 out of 10. It's my favorite comic of all time. Enough said. Nice, 14 minutes, actually 15 minutes. And that was like, what, like 5 minutes of me just gabbing about the intro was like 5 minutes long. So, there you go. I'd say it was about like 3 minutes, so I guess like 12 minutes of video. I don't know. But that, as they say, is that. And I got a text. I wanted to answer. Hopefully it's a group text, because it's probably coming to go help out with yard work. You know, it was raining earlier. I don't know what silly it is now. Maybe I'm talking too loud, even though it's daytime. Let's do it. Well, let's just see what it is. Oh, no. It was none of those things. It's just one of those things where, like, your parents, it's my sister, well, they'll text you and be like, oh, great, I gotta help with this, I gotta do that, and it's just putting in the dryer. That's fine. I don't mind doing this, but it's really easy. Just click a button and it goes on. Alright, I don't mind still going on this video.